What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90, and we're in a different format. We're not live for once. So, yes, we're using Zoom for this time, but we'd like to thank Doug once again, big friend of the show. Congratulations, first of all, on hitting 1,000 subscribers. We're really, really happy for you, me and Alex both, and we have Alex as well. So, for the preview for the first time. So, really excited to have him on. Second time. I think we had one last week as well. Again, we wing it as we go along. But over to you, Doug. Obviously, we've got Liverpool tomorrow in the cup. How do you think, sorry, in the Premier League, how do you think the game's going to go, and how's Liverpool's form been this season, especially coming up to this game?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Neil, and thank you very much for the congratulations on 1K. It's mental, absolutely mental. I'm not going to lie. I never even thought we'd get there, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that's been fantastic. Yeah, our form. Well, have we really been in form? Probably 9 points from 9 games post Christmas. It's not been very, very good. I think we're better away from home than we are at home. We're just really, really struggling for form. So if you'd asked me if there's a better time to play Liverpool, this is probably it.
That's interesting as well. Obviously, Alex, this season we've not been as good at home. That's definitely going to play into Liverpool's hands, surely.
Well, I think that's just perfect for Liverpool, because Liverpool's struggling right now. So why not Liverpool come to, the King Power and take it, take over the fact that, Leicester have struggled at home. So it's kind of, it's going to be a give and take type game, because I think, Leicester City could capitalize off of a struggling Liverpool, but Liverpool can capitalize off of how Leicester plays at home. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup.
I think so too. And just over to you, Doug, in terms of the way that Liverpool set up a lot of the midfield as well today, in terms of the way that they play. And I think we're going to probably play in Diddy, Tielemans and Maddison. How do you think Liverpool will set up in terms of to counteract that, or also in terms of to try and dominate that midfield? Because again, Leicester probably has, and again, we are biased, but one of the most balanced and strongest midfields in this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting midfield battle for sure. I mean, I think we will see probably the likes of Kabak at the back. So I think looking at the midfield, I think it'll be probably Thiago, Jordan Henderson, Gini, Wijnaldum. I think that's going to be probably the midfield three. You might even rest Gini, considering we've got Leipzig coming up in the Champions League in Budapest, which we're not allowed in Germany. Who ever knew that? I think the midfield three will definitely be Gini, Hendo, and Thiago. It's a sort of a hard working midfield for sure. But yeah, you've got very technical players like Tielemans and Maddison who are going to be very, very important in this midfield battle. So I think that this game is going to be won in the midfield.
Yeah, I'm thinking so as well. I think James mentioned that on your side as well. So I'll link Doug's post-match where me, Doug, and James were on that one. So yeah, that was a really good one. One thing we've just found out, just in the brief period that we have preparation for this, is that Barnes and Mane this season have both got the same amount of goals. And again, I think that plays into both of them, that Mane's probably not had a good season this season, Doug. You say as of recent he's gone on a bit of a run, which I think Alex can admit it means exactly that he will score against us.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I have to say I've been very impressed with Barnes this season. I think he's gone up a level this season. I think people criticised him because of his finishing and his end product last season, but see this season, end product, finishing, he's had a very, very good season. So he's definitely going to be a danger threat, I think. And Harvey Barnes for England, never say never.
It could be. Just a quick question over to you, Alex, in terms of Mane and Barnes. Obviously, we weren't expecting Barnes to hit the way that he did today, but to be on the same goals as Mane, obviously Mane's probably not hit the strides as much as he could, but that's still a hell of an achievement.
Oh, it's definitely an incredible achievement. I think one of the things I think everyone forgets to mention is that Mane, he was out for a few weeks because he got the coronavirus at the start of the season. So I think that, put him off for a few weeks. But, to be on par with Mane, Barnes has really had that exceptional season, and he's really been a standout for Leicester City. he's also been there as a goal scorer where you don't fully have to rely on Vardy. It allows the squad to really take into control the fact that they have multiple different players that can tie up the game, or get the equalizer, or score the go ahead goal. So like I think it's really good to see, and Doug said it perfectly. I think Barnes being considered for England is definitely a possibility at this point.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just coming on to obviously the defensive line, and that's probably where both we've got injuries on our side with Fofana, and again Justin will be out for this one. So what do you think your makeshift backline will be for this game, Doug? Because again, that's probably a place where both teams I think will be exposed.
Yeah, I think looking out on the outside of things, I think Henderson will be back into the midfield for sure. And then I think he will probably it'll probably be Alexander-Arnold at right back, Robertson at left back, and then I think it'll be Fabinho, and I think it'll be the new boy Kabak. Someone who, Leicester were wanting. I'm obviously speaking to Anthony before obviously coming on here. He was a big fan of Kabak, so I think he's kind of gutted that, they haven't got him. Considering that like we only got him on deadline day. And he could have been a good partnership for Siyuncu, but again that would be quite unfair on Johnny Evans, who I think is having a very good season so far. But yeah, I think it'll be Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Kabak, and Fabinho.
Yeah, I think as well with Kabak being Turkish as well, it's the same with Siyuncu and Under. That could be something that I think they'll try to expose. They probably know each other from Turkey and the international team quite a lot. But again, I think that could work the other way around as well. Even though Kabak's relatively new to the Premier League, he will know Siyuncu and Under. So what do you think he would tell the strikers to look out for in Leicester? Because obviously Siyuncu, we all know his skills, but how do you think he would tell the front three to really go at Siyuncu?
I mean, I think the thing is we've been trying to find the perfect goal recently. So I would probably I think anything that goes, like, the thing is with us, we seem to have a bit of a tendency of playing against these low block sides, like putting in cross after cross after cross. And against Burnley and Brighton, we had, I think, about, if I remember rightly, I think it was 40 crosses and only 2 came off. Brighton and Burnley were fantastic against us in that low block. So I would just have a go at them. I would just have a go at Siyuncu and Evans, and obviously it's looking like Luke Thomas potentially at left back. He's probably not played against a Mane or a Salah or a Firmino, and then you've got probably Ricardo at right back, who will have a good battle between Mane and Ricardo. Let me just say, it's very good to see Ricardo back. I think he's one of the best, defensive, right backs in the Premier League, I would say. So, yeah, I would, if I'm Kabak and I'm saying to the front three, I would just keep going at Siyuncu, because he'll know from playing with Siyuncu and the Turkish national team what his positives and his negatives are about his game. So it's going to be an interesting battle, that one, for sure.
I think so too. And it's going to be an exciting game, and that hopefully both teams will bring it and both teams will go for it. Even at Manchester City, you guys, I know you didn't play too well, but you were still going, you were still attacking, and that's something that you need credit for, because it is something hard to do. Just over to you, Alex, in terms of, obviously we're mentioning on that right-hand side, Mane versus Ricardo. Ricardo, again, we're coming back from a long injury. He's going to try and be pushed a lot more. But in this game, do you think this is the kind of game where Ricardo obviously we will see him perform to his best? Because today, because when we play him and the way that we're going to play against Mane, we need Ricardo to really shine in order for the other players to get forward, because I don't think we can afford to have too many players, like two-man marking on both Salah and Mane.
No, I think this game will be a good challenge for him, but I think he's going to be able to rise to the occasion. I think that's one thing that I'm looking forward to with Ricardo. I think, this season he's faced his challenges, since coming back from injury, but I think this one will be the biggest challenge. And just with the level of skill that he has and the determination and really just the way he can just step onto the pitch and really just take over. I'm not really concerned. I think he's going to be able to do a good job. It just depends on what his level of fitness is still, because I know that he's still developing that. So, it's going to be a touch and go because, if Mane can break out, then there's no stopping him. But if there's going to be that one person that can do that, I think Ricardo is that one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to bring it on to one player that I think has kind of gone under obviously, Liverpool is a team full of stars, especially after what happened last year. But Curtis Jones has slotted in and done a really good job. I don't think a lot of people have really picked up on how well he's been doing. And I didn't quite realize it until he played against us. And he was setting up all sorts of opportunities. He could have got a couple of goals as well. How has he been doing this season? Because he's somebody that I've been keeping an eye on for a while. And his positional play, his work on the ball, I think his all round as a midfielder has been fantastic.
He's probably been one of our best players this season. Honestly, I think alongside Robertson, I think him and Salah will get the credit for all the goals he scores, but see the creativity that Curtis Jones brings. I think changed the game against West Ham. We didn't look like scoring when he came on until he came on, I should say. And he's been fantastic. He's been very unlucky to actually miss out on the last couple, obviously against Burnley and Brighton, which we both lost. We're crying out for creativity from Curtis Jones. But against Manchester City, he was probably the best midfielder in the game. Obviously until he went off, which I was a bit sceptical about because I think he was having a good game. So to bring him off, you lose that creativity in midfield. So I could easily see Curtis Jones potentially, starting this game. He's done absolutely nothing wrong, and he's another one that could be, vying for the place at the Euros this summer. But yeah, Curtis Jones has been absolutely fantastic this season.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's a player that, as well as Liverpool are failing, I should say, I think you're still having a good season overall. However, there's a lot of, I think this is what you have when you manage such a top team and the expectation has been set so high that meeting these demands was always going to be harder. And people have just seemed to have forgotten that you don't have the likes of Van Dijk. You don't have another centre-back in Matip. And these players are massive players to you. And it's just not clicked this season. However, do you think the way that Liverpool have been portrayed has been a bit negative unnecessarily this season?
I think last season we were a wee bit pragmatic. I think Klopp saw what we were last season, and I think we were quite defensive in some games last season. But yeah, see this season, I mean, there's been some games where we've been. Look, I think every team will probably struggle when you've not got a Van Dijk or a Gomez in your team. I know Gomez isn't the best defensively, but it's a very tricky one because I think not having the solid centre-back partnership, we've had 16 different centre-back partnerships this season, which is crazy. When you think of I think it was about 4 or 5 last season. So you're always going to struggle. But I go back to what obviously Man City were doing last season, and they had Fernandinho, they had Rodri, I think, at the back at one point as well. So to have Fabinho, to have Henderson, 2 of your best midfielders at the back, it's always going to hurt you.
Yeah, and it's something that, again, has been kind of overlooked a lot of the time. It was just about, I think there's a lot of, again, we mentioned it, I think, when we did our first show about how Leicester had injuries and obviously Liverpool had injuries and the way that them two sides were compared in terms of Liverpool got a lot of the headlines. And of course, they're not going to do well this season, even though we didn't. And I think we're the only team, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, of something I've heard recently, the only team so far to stay in the top 4 for the entirety of the season so far. Everybody else has either come in and out and in and out, and it's something that's been quite looked over by certain players, certain teams, and certain pundits as well. So, I'm going into this game, Alex. I think we can be confident, but I think it's going to be a tough game. There's nobody. I think both teams are going to go in playing card football, but also kind of there will be respect given in terms of they're both good teams and they both could beat us, but But they're both going to go for it.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Leicester City's, point of view, I think we definitely got a nice slice of humble pie last time we faced off against Liverpool. I think a lot of City fans were very very excited over on Twitter, expecting, us to blow out Liverpool. And, that kind of didn't happen. The opposite kind of happened, with Liverpool beating us 3-0. But, you said it perfectly. I think both teams are going to come out of the gate strong, and they're both going to, give it 100%. And I think one of the things that you get to look at with this kind of a match is that it's going to be, it's going to be a hard fought battle right to the end. I think that's one of the cool things to see when you have two of the top 4 teams in the league duke it out, especially with how close they are. It's going to be exciting to see. And moving to your point where you mentioned, Leicester City is the only team that's managed to stay into the top 4 from the start of the season until right now. And I think that's such a feat in its own, considering, all the news coming around with, Man United and Man City and all these other teams that are like, oh, well, they're top of the league, or, Man City's doing fantastic. And, little Leicester over here is just sitting here quiet being like, hey, we've been in the top 4 this entire season, thanks for the mention. But, I'm excited for this game because I think it's going to be a hard fought battle from both sides. And I think you're going to witness a great game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just back to your point, it's something that we were talking about as well, that obviously it's kind of annoying not to be appreciated, but at the same time, in the long term, it's probably the best thing for Leicester fans. We don't, and there was a stat put out, I think, by the Athletic about the players that are coming into their prime. So you got the likes of Harvey Barnes, in terms of age as well. Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tielemans, Charles Asiyuncu, all about that 20. There's James Maddison, all at about 24. So they're just coming into their prime now. So if we can keep hold of them players and build towards the future, I mean, it's going to be really exciting in a couple of years' time. Again, we do expect some of the players to move on, but anyway, we'll move it. This is a Liverpool, we should talk to a Liverpool fan about Liverpool, shouldn't we, Alex, a little bit? But just over to you. What are you expecting from the game, Doug?
I'm expecting a very, very fast start. I think I think you'll probably look to attack us. I think Brendan Rodgers has been called a little bit naive with his tactics against Liverpool in the past. So I think it's the best chance for you to beat us. In all honesty, I think the way we've been playing, the fact that we've lost 4-1 against Manchester City, confidence will definitely be low. So I expect you to start very, very quickly. Might get us a little bit of time to get into the game, but yeah, I think obviously with Klopp losing his mother as well, which is really, really sad. His focus might be elsewhere. So I think this is a very, very good opportunity for you guys to come and beat us in our own. Obviously beat us at Leicester, which you haven't done for a wee while. I think there was a cup game. I think you beat us 2-0 in, but. I think that was the last win you had against us at the King Power. So, but yeah, as I keep saying, I do think it's the best opportunity to play us at the moment.
Yeah, I remember just a little anecdote about that. I went to the game. I was living in London at the time. I took my housemate at the time and two of my other friends. We got stuck in traffic. We 5 hours it took to go from London to Leicester. We got to the match at halftime. It was 0-0. It wasn't very good. And they end up losing 2. We end up winning 2-0. So I had to drive 3 very sulky fans for about 8 hours away from home to watch them lose. And we sat in the home end, but it was good fun. But yeah, I'd like to once again, Alex, before we finish, any questions for Doug at all?
I honestly no. All the questions really have. We've discussed a lot of stuff, and I think one of the things I'm just really interested to see is how this game will really come out, because I think we've discussed it before with the injuries, but both teams are still facing and dealing with a lot of injuries. So I think the last game between the two of us, we mentioned it was going to be a battle of the benches, and I think we might be seeing that again this time around. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Leicester definitely have a bench this time, which is something we can't say a couple of seasons ago, which is good to hear. But again, Doug, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on. For people that don't know you, what are you doing? And can you subscribe to this man? And where can they find you this way?
Yeah, you can find me on the Dugout Football channel. Hits 1K subscribers recently, so yeah, a massive thank you to everyone who obviously continues to subscribe and continues liking my dulcet Scottish tones. And you can find me on Twitter at @NOD_1992. You can find me on Instagram at Douglas Horn, and you can find me on Facebook, Douglas James Horn. But no, absolute pleasure to come back on. And yeah, I'm hoping for a very good game on Saturday. Hopefully we come out on top, but it's going to be a very tricky game. And one, as I keep saying, I think Leicester will go into this full of confidence, and it'll be a very tricky game for us. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But no, thank you very much for having me, and you and Alex as well. Keep up the good work you do beyond the 90. I really do enjoy your content.
Brilliant. No, appreciate it, guys, and we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.